Hello, entrepreneurs, and welcome to the Possibility Partner Show. I'm your host, Ande Lyons, your Chief Possibility Officer. And every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, you're going to find me right here on Google Plus Hangouts on Air, sharing Andelicious advice for entrepreneurial adventures. And these are wonderful conversations with seasoned entrepreneurs sharing their best tips, tools, and advice to help you and your business grow and thrive. Whether you're a solopreneur or a small business owner with 100 employees, you know how being an owner can create loneliness, isolation, etc. So every week, come on over to the Possibility Partners Show and get a dose of courage and tenacity and resilience and persistence and that favorite feeling of all, hope. Because we're all here to cheer each other on, hold hands, whether it's a woohoo moment or a rut-row. We learn just as much from those times when we fall down and fail, especially from each other. And I don't want you to miss any of these phenomenal episodes with these amazing experts. So please be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Andelicious Advice. And that way you'll stay updated on all the shows. And today, oh boy, I am so excited for today's guest. He is a Google Plus leader. He is a digital marketing and online presence expert, and he's a local Boston hometown favorite of mine. It's the one and only Stephan Hovnanian. And let me bring him up here so you can say a quick howdy-do. Hi, Stephan.
Hi, Andy. Thank you so much for having me. Hi, everybody. Great to be here.
I love having you here because Stephan and I, we get together in person. Yes, folks, we get to hurl, hip, whatever you want to call it, in person because we're right here in Boston. We have great conversations, and I feel so lucky to have you here today on my show, Stephan. Before we dive into your brilliance with email marketing, let's talk about how did a nice guy like you become an entrepreneur? Were you born that way, or did it just happen? Life circumstances can create entrepreneurial moments for us. How did you get here?
A little bit of both. So I come from a family of entrepreneurs. We build homes, run our own businesses, the generations of business ownership and entrepreneurism, that kind of stuff. So it's always been in my blood. My grandfather and my dad, great role models for me, and they have a family business. We have a family business of home building down in South Jersey. So when I was looking at college, it was let's learn some business, learn business, maybe international stuff, just kind of get a flavor of how things work, and then maybe someday, ultimately, join the crew and build homes. I got a job in banking after college, which was interesting because we did a lot of construction lending, a lot of real estate financing, things like that. So I understood, and I got formal credit training, so I understood the business aspects of and the financial aspects of, really of entrepreneurism, because here I am working with a lot of builders and developers and even small business owners trying to help them grow their businesses. So it was great getting that side of the equation. Because, sometimes, especially in family-run businesses, you go right into it and, you miss out on that little broader view. So it was a great opportunity to have that. Ended up deciding just to kind of stay with the banking. We moved up here from South Jersey to Massachusetts, and I got a job with a small bank down here in southeastern Mass near the Cape. I was a big fish in a small pond. It's a direct quote from the president of the bank. It was a 6-branch bank. Really nice people, but I was like the only guy who had an MBA. It was trying to be progressive in that kind of and go-getting in that kind of environment. Very, very traditional, old-fashioned style of lending, and so we kind of butted heads a little bit. Didn't really see it moving too far, but in the meantime, for about 4 or 5 years prior, 5 years prior, I had started a web development business. So I was doing that on the side. I called it full-time passion, part-time business. It had grown enough, because we're talking like early 2000s, so the market was changing a little bit, especially in real estate with building and all my connections there. So things are growing and growing and growing. I decided to send myself some emails to keep myself up to date from work. Don't do that, people. And I'll never forget April 5th, 2005. Walked into President Bank's office, and he said, I thought we were going to be talking about a deal I had brought to him, potential loan idea, and he throws out all my emails that I wrote to myself, printed them all out, wrote them down on the desk, and he's like, so what do you have to say for yourself? And I'm like, well, you see it, so, and I have a 45-minute drive home, so if you're going to let me go, let me go. And that's what we ended up doing. We parted ways, and I haven't looked back.
I love that story. First of all, I love the full-time passion, part-time business, but having worked 3 years in banking, which, folks, is not a good fit for me, a culture, or Stephan, because as an entrepreneur, you're automatically a risk taker, and banking is not about taking risks. It's about mitigating risks. So I love that you got kicked out of there. I love that you had the experience of being booted out, and here you are today. Thank you, Stephan, for that great story. I love it. And did you get to drive home right then?
Yeah, I drove home. Actually, I was involved with I had a partnership that I had started with a graphic designer down in Jersey. So we used to talk every day. He was an early riser like me. So while I'm commuting, we would actually talk out business ideas and try and make things move while I was on my way to work. And then so he was actually the first guy I called, and my wife knows this too, but you'd think that would be the first, but she was at work. I didn't want to get her all crazy, and anxious. So I called up Mike, and I'm like, hey, you'll never guess what happened. And actually, the don't look back was actually his advice, because he had a very similar situation where he had to make a tough decision. He wasn't forced out, but he had to make a tough decision as well. And so he told me his story, and he was like, I've never looked back, and that's the best advice I could give you. I'm like, all right, okay, I won't. And I just went home. I checked with the unemployment office to see if I had even shot at collecting a couple bucks while I was like trying to find my footing, and they were like, yeah, no. So
really?
Yeah, it was just,
what year was that? 2005?
yeah.
I mean, here in Massachusetts, it's one of the best funding ways to fund your entrepreneurial startup.
Well,
to respect everybody.
It would have been a little different story. The way that would have unfolded wouldn't have worked out so well.
I understand completely. And
what are you going to do?
Yeah, but what I'm really curious about, because you're such a talented man, you could have gone into so many different directions, especially with your family history and construction. What was it about digital marketing that really spoke to you?
I just enjoy being creative and problem solving. I fell into this, and just took to it. So that's really the only. I wish it were more exciting, but that's it. I learned how to design a website as part of a class for a computer class in college, and that was like one little unit of it. So this was back in the late 90s when it was actually a lot harder to do this stuff. Now you could just bring in things off the shelf. But so I learned and really took to it. I'm like, this is fun. We're putting things together. We're coding. It's it's exciting. Obviously, late 90s, the internet was like brand new basically. So it was a lot of fun. And then when I got my MBA, I did that at night with the sort of with the understanding that I'm going to try and learn these things and apply them to my web business, not so much for banking. Because the one thing about banking is at some point the next thing you learn is about banking. It's not about business or finance or anything like that. You become institutionalized. So and I knew that day was coming as well, by the way. So
right, and what I really appreciate about what you did, Stephan, is that, and this is a combination that not many people have, is that your smarty pants brain understands all the fine technological engineering components to websites and digital marketing, yet your other half of your smarty pants brain understands the marketing. And sure, a good chief marketing officer is a numbers-driven, analytical, left-brain person, but you make it fun with the creativity end of it. How is this website going to look? How am I going to reach these people? And your problem-solving skills, it feels to me that you're just in a wonderful sweet spot, right?
Thank you. That's such a beautiful thing to say. Thank you, Andy.
Well, it's true.
I'm having fun. So.
Well, I watch you, and you provide incredible content that makes everybody's day easier, just on a daily basis, just because. So I think it's important. I'm sure people here are waving howdy. Yep, that's how we see and experience Stephan as well. Now, do you have any pieces of advice for, or a piece of advice for entrepreneurs that really has helped you along your journey? Because you've been on your unemployable for what, 12 years now?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. 10 at least. So any particular advice that you think is relevant and important to the entrepreneurial journey?
Well, I think the real important thing is to understand who you are and what you bring to the table. Understand that the most. You know, I've been learning, I've been refining that even over the last 12 months. But I've never had more fun than I'm having now, as opposed to even like my company turns 15 this year. So in the 13 and a half-ish years before that, it was fun. But it was a job, and I'm having a lot more fun now because I'm really understanding what I bring to the table. And I think another component to this is to take yourself out of your business and look at yourself almost like an employee. I mean, you want to get into that knowledge transfer, you know, especially anybody who's in coaching, consulting, anything where you start off sort of where your mind is sort of the big commodity. That's a big challenge, because how do you get past that without burning yourself out? And so that's been a big piece for me, at least lately, to transfer that knowledge into some systems, into some packages and products and whatnot. And it's when you know where you fit, you just go after those people that need you the most, and you'll have a blast. They're going to respond, and you'll make money.
Thank you for that wonderful advice, Stephan. It's absolutely true. Uncovering who you are is key, and sometimes it can take many years. And yeah, you can feel like you're at a job while you're still trying to figure it out, but that's okay. That's part of the journey. And that's what we're here for, to keep encouraging you to find out who you are, where you're going, where is the best place for you. And you know what? As you evolve professionally and personally, those things change about yourself too. So one minute you might be swimming over here and having a great time, but as you evolve, you might need to go over to a different stream and swim. Anyway, I just adore you, Stephan. Folks, remember, you've got to visit, is it Chovy Websites?
Yep.
Stephan, that's your website, chovywebsites.com. And remember, when I hit end broadcast in about 20 minutes, please click on the link I'm going to put in the comment section and join us for the Afterglow Party. Seriously, we have so much fun, the best impromptu conversations, and they're all unrecorded. So I hope you can join us today. Let's talk about email marketing. I know for me, I struggled when I launched Possibility Partners. What did I want to say? How did I want to do it? Is email marketing dead? What do I do? And I really dragged my feet for months. I really didn't want to deal with it. But fortunately, Stephan set me straight. What are your thoughts about email marketing, and why is it so important today more than ever, Stephan?
Well, it isn't dead. There's plenty of stats and research reports and whatnot that prove it. The overall approach to messaging has definitely changed. So you got to think about that, and then how your email campaigns and your email marketing strategy all play into that, right? Used to be, years ago, we had one place to get our messages, right? It was an inbox, and it wasn't even web-based. It was, you downloaded Outlook or Thunderbird or whatever, you know? And so that was the only place to get those messages. And honestly, if you're targeting B2B, that's largely where those guys are now anyway. They're still using software. So don't forget that. Not everybody, even though we're all having a great time interacting with each other online, not everybody's a Gmail user with an iPhone. And, you know, there's plenty of people out there in the real world that that aren't doing that. But anyway, again, the challenge is that used to be the only place where you could interact with people. Now we have chat, we've got apps, there's apps, there's notifications, there's messaging going on everywhere. And so I'm kind of the opinion that your inbox has sort of become that most sacred place, as opposed to these fragmented conversations we're having everywhere. You know, if in an inbox, it's like I think a lot of people have tried to push out all the junk that they're getting and really only keep the relevant stuff there. You think about it, like who sends you email, right? Your mom, your grandparents, your aunt and uncle, you know, these are your boss. Like, these are really important people, right? So if you want to try and get into that same crowd, right, you really have to treat your email marketing a little bit differently than we used to and before, which is really like, let's just batch and blast. So it's becoming a lot more personalized, and a lot there's really this search for relevance. That's really the main goal today.
Right. And I know for me personally, if there's somebody that I really want to hear from, like you, Dre Beltrami, or Stefan, I have to. I love the fact that I can sign up for an email. And sometimes I may want to get the information from someone for a while. And then I'm kind of complete, and I can unsubscribe if I want. But I think email marketing is great. Where does one begin? Because I know for me, it was just like, oh my God, how can I commit to an email campaign? Why do I want to get this started? What am I going to say? And then when MUAH sent their newsletter out, I loved it because it was mostly pictures. And so I really thought that was a good fit for me. But you really helped me a lot. Where does one start as a business owner to decide on the strategy?
I think it's tricky, and for a business owner, you can look at it in two different ways, right? This is something that I'm trying to do myself a little bit better. You have your existing clients, and then you have your prospects. Now, in my case, a lot of my clients aren't really active on social media, right? I've got long-term relationships with a lot of our website management clients. So a lot of these guys are, they're more established businesses. They're not on social media very actively. So them seeing all my Google Plus stuff and, LinkedIn and blogging and all, that's not there. So I still need to be in front of these guys, right? And you could also say the same kind of thing for a larger corporation as well. But there's an element of customer retention that I think is really, really important. And if you're going to start anywhere, start there, because you have these people already. You already have that. You know that they're taking your calls. You know that they're going to answer your emails. So start feeding them information that makes you more relevant, not salesy, but relevant. And so if you have, I'll use me as an example, but this would apply really to any type of business. Actually, no, let's not use me. Let's use a professional service firm, let's use an interior designer, okay? So interior designers, right, they're active in their industry, they're paying attention to what's going on. They might go to a lot of these trade shows. They still have a lot of them in that industry. So they're out and about with their finger on the pulse of interior design. The sales cycle of interior design is definitely a longer one. You redecorate something, chances are you're not going to hire that person, tomorrow or next week. So constantly pushing product down these people's throats is not a good idea. What would you do instead? Well, you just keep top of mind, keep educating, you keep a conversation going, and then once in a while, you send them some relevant ideas, or you say, hey, I'm going to a trade show. Is there any? And if you haven't, if there's something you're interested in, right, you've been thinking about for your house, let me know. I'll see if I can find a vendor to maybe answer the question at this trade show. If you can start getting people to reply to your emails, you're killing it. Because at that point, first off, you're going to start to, on the technical side, you'll start to move into out of the promotions tabs and things, you'll start moving into the person's actual inbox instead of the filtered parts of it. But also, you're also training your subscribers to interact with you, and that's really, really powerful. So again, you have existing subscribers, you have existing clients, existing subscribers. Talk to them about what's going on in your industry, not in a salesy way, but just to help them become more educated and see how you can help them. That's I think the easiest way to start, because it doesn't require a big editorial calendar. You could just pull off of what you're doing in your regular business. Another good idea is if you have a lot of if you're getting a lot of questions, or you see a trend from customer inquiries, again, we'll use the interior designer. Maybe you're getting a lot of calls about blinds, or maybe tis the season to talk about shag carpet. I don't know. My friend Lori Laser might shoot me for saying that. I'm not sure. But, whatever it is, if you start seeing a trend, do a quick little blog article on it, or a quick video, or find a great resource, send that out. Because people are talking about something, even if they're not on your email list, they might be talking about it with their friends. So now you've become relevant, and you've popped into their inbox at this very opportune time with great information. And you can do that very easily with your existing clients.
And I want to just take a moment here for viewers to really take in I want to call it the headspace that Stephan is coming from, and that is the place of being the Chief Marketing Officer. Of course, I call him the CMO for hire, but for you and your business, see how he's thinking? It's not it's about planning for your second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, always being a quarter ahead in how you're building relationships and building business opportunities. And, that interior designer is not always going to be online. A lot of businesses are out there cranking, working really hard, and email becomes a wonderful way for them to stay in touch. Now, you got me to set up an opt-in page. I had on my website, Stefan, that nice on the banner on the side, the navigation bar, yoo-hoo, entrepreneurs, download 7 essential strategies right here and sign up, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, you got to have a landing page, an opt-in page. And, of course, I was like, okay, what's that again? Share with everybody why that's so important.
So there's a couple of things, right? First off, if you have a newsletter, you should. It's a good best practice to have a dedicated page to it. So like mine's like website hangouts.com/subscribe. And the reason I do that is so that I can create my value proposition and say, this is why I want to be, this is what I'll give you if you invite me into your inbox. Okay, it's a chance for me to set that up. And having a whole page to do that allows me just so much more flexibility. I can put testimonials, I can put examples to things that, to previous newsletters. So having that, plus it's a really easy link that you can just drop in conversation, whether it's on Twitter or, even in an email. You just say, oh, here you go, and you type it out instead of having to go to your website and find the darn thing and, copy and paste the URL, or worse, instructions. Who did this yesterday? I saw this, somebody on a Facebook page. They're like, hey, did you know I have an email newsletter? Click on my Facebook page, look for the tab that says email, and click on it, and then sign up, and you're all set. Isn't that easy? And I commented, I'm like, I know this person, so I didn't mind. But I commented, I'm like, no, that's not easy, and it's not going to work on mobile, because I was on my phone, and I'm like, I don't see it. So I said, what you really need is, here, did you know I have a newsletter? Here's the link. Boom, done. It's like super simple. So there's that element, okay? But then to the 7 steps, the cash flow thing that you have, right? The idea behind the landing page is the same kind of thing. It's let me set up my value proposition, and plus when you use different services, some of the services allow you to do split testing, so you could see, maybe one is going to work better than the other. So one version, and you can play around with stuff and watch your conversion rates. So I'm a big proponent of that, of having dedicated pages, especially anytime you want somebody to do a conversion. You still got to have, that sign up box on your blog and, on the sidebar, wherever you're going to put it. It's still very helpful, because once you've established value, somebody reads the blog article, they're like, all right, I like what this person has to say. Here's my call to action. You can get more of it if you want. Just
I love how you get into the mind of your customers, and that's really what you want to do, because you want to build off of their needs. They're the ones who are telling you what they want, and if you can find a way to engage them and make it work, emails are a terrific way to make that happen. So of course I have to ask this question, Stefan. Does size matter, i.e. your list size?
I mean, it's math, yeah, to an extent, but if you're selling jet engines, how many? No, it doesn't matter. If you're selling a $1.50 widget, yeah, size does matter, because you're not making a lot of money on each person.
Right. So what are some of the ways that you can effectively build a list and build a list quickly?
Well, you can always buy or rent. I don't always recommend it, and I wouldn't necessarily expect a really great return. If you're going to do things like trade or tap into an organization like a chamber, for example, that offers you sponsorship or those kinds of things. My best advice whenever you're in a position where you can use somebody else's list, not renting, that's different, but if you're going to use somebody else's list, for example, like a Chamber of Commerce, have them introduce you, right? Because their subscribers already know who they are. And so if they can be transparent about it and say, hey, this, today's email is brought to you by Possibility Partners. Here's a blurb about them, here's how you get more information. Boom. Now all of a sudden you have a chance to sort of capture those people. But if you try and send it out, you got to do that right. It's a nuanced thing. It's tricky, but I feel it's a lot more effective than just saying, hey, let me borrow your list and send a whole bunch of strangers, one email that they have no idea who the heck I am, but that's just going to, think about it. When you get those, you get ticked off, don't you?
Right.
So why would you do that to somebody else? I mean, I don't know. But so those are a couple of ideas. A couple other ideas. A lot of it's organic. It's just you got to grind. You have to be out there promoting, and that's another reason I'm a big advocate of having a dedicated sign-up page, because you can put it on Pinterest, you can put it into your tweet schedule. You can say, you could throw out teasers, like I have a blog post coming. My email subscribers get it first. I've talked about this a lot. And I know people who do it a lot too, and do it effectively. You'll get a handful of people every time, but that's okay, because you want to establish that rapport with them first, and they've got to trust you first. Otherwise, they're going to subscribe. They're never going to open anything, and one day they're going to hit mark as spam. And what did that accomplish? Nothing.
Right, and this is why it's so important for me. Just delegate. Do what Lainey Sullivan did. Hire Stephan. Make sure he gets you off to the greatest start possible with your email campaign, or boost your email campaign. And I know, in the event invite, I have a lot of links to get you started with Stephan, and I'll put them in the archives as well. Stephan, let me just bring up a few comments here, because we've got a phenomenal crowd today who are adding so much value to the conversation with their comments, seriously. And here's Nicole with, this is a great conversation, love this content, and the comments as well. Lots of information as always. And I just wanted to bring that up as evidence. There's a lot going on here today for sure. Nikki over in the UK has a question. At what point would you pitch a sale to your prospective customers? How do you know they're ready to buy from you, Stephan?
Kind of depends on your sales process. I think if you have the ability to do lead scoring, go for it. That's a new thing I just stumbled on. I know it's not new, but I just learned it.
Well, wait a minute. What do you like about it? What's so great about lead scoring?
Okay, so what it does is it gamifies your email marketing, basically. So look at it this way: if I have campaigns that go out, okay, and my campaigns are about a particular topic, what I can do anyway without the lead scoring, I can run a query basically on anybody who's interacted with any of my landing page and conversion optimization links, anything I've ever sent out that has to do with that particular topic. And then I can send them out, it's like a filtering, right? It's like a segment. I send them out a specific type of email. Now, lead scoring takes things one step further. When somebody's interacting with it, you're giving them points. It's totally arbitrary, but when you think about it, the more somebody interacts, like I could have had 10 links that had to do with landing pages go out over the course of the last 3 months. I'm going to pull in a group of people who've interacted with any of them. The ones who interacted with one are a lot less qualified than the ones that interacted with all 10. So by adding this little scoring element, you can say, oh, okay, Andy is really, really interested in this because she's opened and clicked on every single thing I've ever written about landing pages. Maybe it's worth just picking up the phone and calling her, right? And it may seem out of the blue. So this kind of gets to Nikki's question. It may seem like it's out of the blue, but you've done a little bit of homework and you've realized, they could be ripe for.
Right, and they've given you the signals too back in return.
Signals. That's really the whole thing.
Right, I love that, and I love that you can get even more engagement with the best people for you and your business. Dave Moore here says, email campaigns have to be targeted and focused. We must remember that email campaigns like Hangouts have to be relevant. The reader or the viewer always has something else they could be doing. Our job is to give them something to make them stop and concentrate on us.
Totally agree. Yeah, Dave, you've had some great comments, by the way. Thank you so much. I've been reading them as they've been flying through here. A lot of great, really on-point stuff, so thanks.
Right. And then Danielle. Oh, I lost it, Danielle. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. There we go. Christina Daves, who was on the show a few months ago, PR for Anyone, her book, just a shameless plug, sorry. Christina Daves, how do you rent a list? That's her question, and I think that's a great question because I didn't know you could rent a list.
Yeah, you can. I would just type it in. List,
right.
Google it. There's
perfect.
And I would also read up on the things to watch out for when you rent a list, and go a few pages deep. Read up on it because anybody who can do really good SEO is going to get all of their methods up on the first page. So get a little educated about the process.
Our good friend Dre Baltrami here. I'm the Chief Stocking Officer for the Stephan Hovnanian Rocks fan club. Bam. Oh yeah. Many of us are right there with you, Dre. Absolutely. And of
She's
course,
awesome.
Cheryl Locke, a fave. I think Stephan went into digital marketing so he could meet all of us.
She's right. I've been exposed.
That's great. Guys, your comments are so wonderful. Now, visual content on email campaigns. What are your thoughts around that?
So the trickiest part with visual content, we're all becoming very visual, very, very visual, especially, we're on our phones. There's not a lot of space. I mean, there's, small fonts and whatnot. First of all, let me throw this stat out at you because it's a great precursor. Over 50% of emails are being opened on phone right now. It's increasing every year. And there's a lot of people that are doing multi-device. So they're triaging in the morning on their phone, and then they get to their office and they open up the ones that are still there. So the biggest thing to really hammer home with you guys when you're doing visual content in your email is to keep it lightweight, really, really lightweight. And you know what? You can use a lot of color, white space. Use that for your visual design, not so much big, heavy images. And the biggest challenge with that is like a lot of us bloggers, right? We'll put a blog post up. We don't care how big the file size is because we know that it's going to get scaled when we upload it to WordPress. That's done. You don't have to think about it at all, right? Whenever we share it on social, this huge image gets crunched down by whatever social network. They're doing all the heavy lifting for us. But when you send that 2.5 megabyte file, all 2.5 megabytes of it has to get downloaded. And somebody on a not so great data plan or has a weak Wi-Fi signal, they're not going to sit and wait for your email. So yeah, so there's that.
That's a good point, given mine are all visual with very few words.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then use what's called the alt text. So when you put your image in, there's a description, and I've seen some very clever stuff where the description is actually, you'll get a much better effect if you turn on the images, right? That's sometimes what it says. Anymore though, it's becoming less of an issue because a lot of email providers are by default. I know iPhone's doing it, Android. By default, they're putting the images on by default. So the bigger challenge again just becomes really one of bandwidth.
Okay, so and you've brought up just in the conversation mistakes people are making, but what are some glaring mistakes that you've seen people make over the last year, let's say? It's because we want to stay current with our email marketing campaigns.
So I think one of the biggest mistakes is just presumptiveness. Is that the right version of I don't know. Just saying, okay, you've signed up for something. You've come to the end of my series when I send you my 4 or 5 tips that come after the checklist that you downloaded. Now I'm going to add you to my regular newsletter. That's not a technique that's going to be as effective today as it may have been in the past.
Why?
That's one, and then along with that is collecting email addresses from whatever fashion, trade shows, webinars, whatever, and adding them to your newsletter. Just all of a sudden, out of the blue, you're sending them stuff. If you really think about it, you kind of forced me to give you my email address so I could sign up for the news, for this webinar. That's okay, but honor that. I mean, don't lump me in. Don't think that I'm. First of all, if I went to the webinar and I thought it stunk, then the last thing I want is more emails from you, right? So there's that whole element of it, but you don't know that because you just said, oh, I got this guy's email address, I'm going to put on my newsletter now. You sort of need that intermediary step. And the biggest trend, all this people way smarter than I am about this stuff, that have been talking about for years, but beginning of this year really, really hit. It was like every article said, if you're doing anything this year, get smarter about your email marketing. Great title for the show, by the way.
Hey. And that's, of course, I got from you. But here's a question.
More segmented, more relevant, more personalized. If you have a list of 10,000 people, don't send out 10,000 emails all at once. Maybe you're sending out little by little, you're sending out a whole bunch of different ones, but they're so highly relevant that everybody who gets them is really interested in the content.
So if you've had a webinar, because we all get invited and we join, and then whether it sucks or not, we participated. Can you send, as the business owner, a follow-up email saying, thank you for participating in the webinar. I'd love to stay in touch through an email. Do they need to opt in again, or?
It kind of depends. I mean, if they're Canadian, I think they do.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a different law with express consent. Google CASL, I forget, it's a Canadian anti-spam law, I think it's called.
Yeah.
But yeah, Google that. There's some great content, and a bunch of people had their attorneys look at it, and big companies they went through the whole process. But essentially, it comes down to express consent. So yeah, if you're collecting emails and they're Canadian, and you take them from a webinar over to the your newsletter, that's a huge no-no.
Well,
The
I just
enforceability of it's a different story.
assumed if they just grabbed my email for whatever offering, that I could then just add it to the whole big list. And
Yeah, I wouldn't
can't.
do that.
Okay.
And if you're gonna triage these people, put them in a different list. So if you get, like I was saying before, if you do a webinar, you get a whole bunch of people come in and put that on its own list, and then have those people, send some emails out. Even send a couple. Doesn't have to be one and done. But send a couple of emails, see what people are responding to, and then if they seem to really interact, have some kind of an invite to have them come over to your newsletter.
Yeah, I love that, Stefan. I love the curating, the filtering. It really, again, deepens the relationship with your potential or current customers and clients, and it helps you understand who you are having your conversation with, right?
Yeah, and that's the name of the game.
Absolutely. So next step is you get them on board, you're sending the emails, you've separated everything out so you know who you're talking with, etc. How do you keep the conversation interesting and lively?
It gets trickier as you get more people, that's for sure. You'll start to realize, okay, there's only so much I can do. That might be one of those times where you bring in some team members, or maybe you dedicate some time to, I don't know, it's just going to be case by case, but don't do the no reply thing, right? Don't have, if somebody replies to an email, even have it bounce. It's just a bad idea in general, and that technique's going away like a couple of years ago. So stop those. Don't do that if you did. Even transactional stuff. You got to realize that every single opportunity, every message that goes out is an opportunity for somebody to hit reply and connect with you. So even transactional emails, it's important. I think it's just tricky. And it's going to be case by case basis, what's scalable for you. But the other thing is to just be diligent about when you're asking them to reply, and test different things, see what works, and be as helpful as you can. I will say this: I've realized. I'm sorry to cut you off. No. I realized that I started doing it. I started getting a bunch of replies in the beginning of this year because I had put out a call to reply with questions, and one of the things that I thought was really useful for my subscribers, when they had a question for me that I couldn't answer, or maybe I could answer but didn't really want to get into like a 10-paragraph essay, I found a couple people that could help. And, Andy's beautiful at this, by the way. She's the dot connector, just extraordinaire, So she's just, that would be great for you. If you ever put out a call to action to say, all right, can I help with any of this, and somebody does, then you can say, okay, go here. Like I had somebody who's interested in help in book promotion. I'm like, not my forte, even though I've done it, but go here, talk to these people. And that took all of 4 seconds, which was great. But the value the person got out of that was tremendous. And they wrote back to say that much. They were like, thank you so much. I just went down a huge rabbit hole, and I really appreciate it.
Well, I think, too, what you brought up at the very beginning of our conversation, which is being true to who you are and knowing who you are, it goes right into your emails. Communicate in the best way for you and your business. You'll see the experts out there saying, try this, do that. Filter it, take and tweak. Make it your own and make it easy. And you want it to be in alignment with you. You don't want it to be going, oh, I got to send out that newsletter. You want it to be, yay, I get to talk to this group or this group. So I love that. Stefan, what is it about your work that you love the most?
Two things. I love being able to help people, but I also love being able to see all the pieces come together. That just makes me really happy.
Yeah, well, you're a problem solver. Yeah, so as you see things coming together, and especially with marketing, I know for me personally, one of the things that I love most about you is the fact that you are so generous on a daily basis, whether anybody plus ones or likes or anything, every day. It's like you're compelled to make our world a better place by adding excellent content that we can all use. So I want to say thank you, Stefan, for that. What are the new possibilities you're seeing on the horizon for your work?
Well, For 15 years, my company has sort of been on the tail end of the marketing spectrum. As any web designer knows, it's okay. We've gone through this whole process. Now I need a website. So I call up a company to build me a website. We've been able to provide so much more than that for so long that last year, towards the middle of last year, I just said, you know what, enough. I'm not going to be the guy we're not going to be the type of company that takes the call at the end of the line. We'd rather be more involved, and even if it means building a website for a company, which is totally fine, we'd rather them have a lot more purpose and strategy behind what they're doing. We see a lot of disconnect with content. I mean, people are like, oh yeah, I need to have a blog, I need to do this, and they don't necessarily understand why or what it does for their business, but they want it, So for years, this has been the mantra. It's like we've been like the voice of reason, the liaison, all that other stuff. My head's in the trenches, neck deep. I mean, this is what I do every day. But the idea is to be able to distill that and make sense for a company and their needs. So we're trying to position ourselves more on the front line of that, where somebody's coming to us for strategy and to help unlock the stuff that's in their head when it comes to customer experience and all the challenges that their company can help solve. And put that out in terms of content and hangouts and email marketing and web, obviously websites and social, all that stuff.
Right, and I think what's important for folks to remember, what is just great about you, is you're a chief marketing officer for hire. Seriously, folks, you don't have to do this work yourselves. You can delegate and hire Stefan and his folks to help you with your marketing. At this point, I just want to say huge mwah, mwah, mwah to all you live participants. Oh my gosh, you make my heart sing every week when you show up and share your brilliance and your gifts for the conversation. Thank you for bringing your great energy. And I need to do a special mwah and a wave, Stefan, and you can certainly join me on this, to the folks who stop by to say, hey, can't catch you live, but I'll see you at the replay. And that, of course, is our good friend in Italy, Nazim, as well as I want to do a quick wave, and I want you to jump in here too. Barbara Tomlin brings her neighbors over, and she watches us through Chromecast, Stefan.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's
so wait,
awesome.
so she won't be able to join us in the Afterglow chat, but I just want to say hi, mwah, thank you for tuning in to this wonderful show with Stefan. Carmen, you made it, yay. And Roxanne Davenport, I know we'll see you on the other side in the replay. Thank you so much for swinging by. Any final words before I wrap up here, Stefan?
Thank you. I appreciate it. And yeah, that's it.
And do you have any freebie stuff left? I know you had a great campaign. You were offering some wonderful. Is that still available?
Well, I'm doing a help out right now. Help outs is closing at April 21st. So if you're watching this on replay in a couple months, sorry. But between then and now, or now and then, I've opened up some slots. So it's free help out, 15 minutes or so. Let's talk about email marketing struggles, strategies. I have that post pinned to the top of Google Plus, and I think I'll keep it there until this whole thing shuts down. So you can find out more about that. Schedule some time. Let's chit chat.
Hey.
And there's also my I have an opt-in guide that I've built to help somebody create a whole campaign and strategy around like a freebie download and the email that goes behind it, landing pages. There's that, as well as the series that we're doing about email marketing. There's one more left, and we had a couple questions, excuse me, about email design. The guest I'm bringing on March 17th, her name is Justine Jordan, also local from Cambridge, a company called Litmus, and really great company. We're going to talk about email design and testing, and check out litmus.com as well, because they're definitely on the leading edge of all this stuff. You'll learn a ton from those guys. Really great. So I'm stoked to have her on, but also we had a couple of viewers who are interested in that topic. So
right,
I'll throw those links if you want.
Yeah, and if folks can just hop onto and subscribe to your YouTube channel, they'll stay on top of all your Get Smart email marketing news, right? Or sign up for your newsletter. Hello.
Yeah, that's probably better.
Sorry.
That's okay.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you, Stefan. And folks, thank you again for joining us today. Please subscribe to Stefan's email and newsletters, and all the information and links are in the archives, so it's very easy breezy for you to do that. And of course, I invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel as well as my newsletter. I have no show happening on March 10th, but I will be back on March 17th with the wonderful Andrea Waltz, who wrote this great book, Go for No. and she's going to be helping us with getting over any of our feelings of rejection, and she's going to give us some motivation. How great is that? So that's March 17, 1 p.m. EST, here on the Possibility Partners Show. Thank you so much, entrepreneurs, for having the courage to pursue your dreams. I'm cheering you on from here. And one last goodbye, and Stefan, a final wave to everybody, and then I'm going to grab that link. Oh, wait a minute, let me give you a Stefan's wave.
I'm trying to do the
there you go.
princessy wave thing.
the queen wave.
There you go.
And folks who are live, join us for an Afterglow chat. It is so much fun. Until I see everyone again, I'm wishing you an Andelicious day. Mwah!